Appreciate it very much. This summer, we had a Wilson grant to Europe, and the plan was to visit some World War II sites. In addition, the group visited a particular site that meant a lot to Mr. Sharbel, who in fact was intending to go on that trip. And this morning, 3 of our students who went on that trip and 2 of the faculty who went on the trip would like to remember and honor Mr. Sharbel and make some comments about that. So we have William and Ryan and Charlie coming up with Dr. Sly and Mr. Paoliki. And we're hoping to have Mrs. Sharbel here this morning, but she had an unforeseen conflict. And we hope also to have Mr. Sharbel's boys here later in the year when they're back in Nashville. You see that great shot that Mr. Sharbel put on his Facebook page that he liked, and we thought it'd be nice to remember him this morning. I'll let you guys take over.
Good morning. I'm here to present a gift that we got for my friend, colleague, teacher, coach, and mentor, Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Sharbel. This is on a trip that we took to France this past summer. This idea was presented to me in fall of 2019 to do a trip to England and to France to visit some World War II sites. Of course, I'm not a history teacher, and my role was simply to be the logistics guy on the ground. This is a trip that we had planned and canceled 3 times, and luckily last June we were able to make the trip on our 4th try. And so Dr. Sly will talk a little bit about the trip itself, and then the boys will talk about this actual place that we went to.
In early June 2021, Senor Paoliki and I received the green light for the trip. We immediately set about contacting our student travelers and adjusting our itinerary amid a highly fluid international travel situation. From June 21st through June 30th, we traveled with 10 rising seniors throughout France, concentrating our attention on historical sites and museums in Paris, Bayeux, and Normandy. Quite simply, I find that words are inadequate to convey what we learned and what we felt as we visited Normandy and walked the beaches where so many American, British, Canadian, and Australian soldiers made the ultimate sacrifice. And the necessity and urgency of that sacrifice became all too clear for us as we walked through the streets of the Parisian neighborhood of Les Marais and read plaque after plaque commemorating the 77,000 French Jews who were systematically deported to the camps and murdered by the occupying Nazi forces. These experiences were by turns revelatory, compelling, searing, and clarifying. That our Wilson Summer World War II trip occurred at all stands as a credit to the lasting vitality of Colonel Joseph Sharbel's vision, commitment, and passion. We would like to express our gratitude for what he has made possible.
Desperate to defeat the Allies before America arrived in force, Germany launched a series of offenses in the spring of 1918. Taken by surprise, the French army fell back to the Marne River line 35 miles from Paris. France appealed to the United States for assistance, and the Americans rushed over 2 untried divisions to the front. The 2 divisions relieved French troops along the Paris-Metz road. On that line stood a dense forest 1.5 miles long and held by the Germans. Control of these woods was essential to stopping the German advance. As French troops withdrew through the Marine 5th Regiment's positions, a French officer suggested to Captain Lloyd Williams that the Marines should also retreat. Williams replied, "Retreat? Hell, we just got here." On June 4th, the Germans attacked the Marine and Army units, but were repulsed with heavy losses. On the 5th, both sides improved their positions and harassed each other with artillery fire. As one of the first pictures showed, It showed a position. It showed the view of the Germans looking on the field that the Americans were walking across. The Americans were walking into a trap, and they did not know that the Germans were there. The Germans had an easy view of them onto the field, and the Marines could not see into the forest. 1,087 troops killed or wounded. That is more people killed or wounded than that are in this room right now. It was more men that died in one day than the Marines had lost in the previous 143-year history. The Germans reported their enemy to be stubborn and not afraid of his losses. Between June 22nd and 24th, U.S. Army machine gun battalions, units of the Marines' 5th and 6th Regiments, and 6th Machine Gun Battalion returned to Bellawood. After a day-long artillery barrage on June 25th, Army and Marine machine gunners attacked. Fighting well into the evening, they took the northern end of the woods and captured over 500 Germans. German counterattacks on the 26th were repulsed, and Bellawood was firmly in the Allied hands. The grit and courage of these troops is what gave them the reputation as the Devil Dogs.
The 42.5-acre N.A. Marne Cemetery Memorial sits below Bellawood, where many of those buried in the cemetery lost their lives. During World War I, it was one of the temporary wartime cemeteries established by the Army's Registration Service and was known as the American Expeditionary Forces, or the AEF, Cemetery number 1764-Bellawood. In 1921, Congress authorized retention of the cemetery as one of the 8 permanent World War I military cemeteries on foreign soil. The following year, an agreement was signed with the government of France granting its use as a military cemetery in perpetuity, meaning it is free of charge or taxation. The permanent cemetery is named for the World War I campaign area in which it is located. The memorial chapel and other buildings on the ground were constructed by the American Battle Monuments Commission as a part of its program commemorating the achievements of U.S. Armed Forces in World War I. In 1934, President FDR issued an executive order giving the Commission the added responsibility of operating and maintaining these military cemeteries overseas. The cemetery was dedicated on May 30th, 1937. Bellawood is maintained by this commission as a memorial to the American men who fought in the AEF during World War I. The cemetery contains the graves of 2,289 soldiers who fought in World War I.
After visiting the cemetery memorial, we rode to the Bellawood Memorial Museum, where behind a very large tree is the Devil Dog Fountain. The Devil Dog Fountain depicts the symbolic bull mastiff with natural spring water falling from its mouth. This fountain is believed to have been a place of recovery for the American Marines who had just charged through the Bellawood and captured the city. The fountain gained historical significance for the Marine Corps after the war had ended, when Marines made pilgrimages back to the fountain in order to drink the water. Marines believe that those who drink this water will receive strength and protection in battles to come. Today, many members of the Marine Corps still return to the fountain to drink its water and pay homage to the fallen soldiers. As a former Marine, returning to Bello and visiting the fountain was a very important part of our trip to Lieutenant Colonel Sharbel. Our group was very fortunate and was able to visit the fountain in honor of Lieutenant Colonel Sharbel's desire to go back himself. We took turns filling up vials of water and taking a sip of the fountain's fresh water, as many before us have done. I believe that I speak for the group when I say that we wish Lieutenant Colonel Sharbel had been there with us, and we are honored to have been able to make the trip to the Devil Dog Fountain and to Bellawood in his memory.
In this box, we have 3 vials of the water that we took from Bellawood Fountain, and these are vials that we plan to present to Susan Sharbel and Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Sharbel's 2 boys, Ian and Jason. Unfortunately, Susan was not able to attend today at the last minute, so we are going to present this to her at a later date, but we'd like to recognize her in absentia and to recognize our good friend and colleague, Lieutenant Colonel Sharbel. Thank you.